64% of Americans are willing to have a conversation about their faith. That means as I'm out here, 2/3 of the people I pass are willing to have a conversation about their faith and even hungry for God, willing to have these conversations. Yet evangelism is a lost art in today's world. Well, we need to make some shifts. You need to make some shifts. I do. I look at myself in my own personal life that we do. One of the ways that I've kept a heart for evangelism is, number one, I remember the freshness of my salvation. I'll never forget, as a young man, when I was living as a prodigal away from God, here I am just bound by drugs, an absolute mess as a teen. I came back and I was with my family. I attended a service. A man was preaching about Jesus. I walked down to the altar and the Lord touched my heart. Jesus met me and embraced me. His grace, His mercy, His goodness forgave me of my sins. That was my day, my moment. I'll never forget it. I remind myself, I remind our staff every Easter, Christmas, times, always when we have functions going on, where all of those that we serve, lives are being touched and changed, people are coming to Christ. I remind all of us to remember the freshness of your salvation. A lot of what we're doing is digital, so I have to stir myself up and I have to remember my day, my moment, and all of the people we're touching because of what we're doing digitally. Man, you got to stir yourself up. That's what I do with myself. I stir myself up and I remember the freshness of my salvation. Number two, the next thing is just to pray, is prayer. When I was lost and away from God, my mom said that my dad would go in as a teen and he would just pray and cry out to God, God, don't forget my son, show mercy on my son. And he would ask God to save me. And God's mercy, He did a work in my life. We need to pray for the lost. We need to pray for not just our relatives, our neighbors, our coworkers, but our community. We need to cry out to God and ask God to save the lost. When we pray, God touches our heart. I find whenever I pray for the lost, whenever I beseech the Lord, man, to touch my city, that God touches my heart in the process. In the same way, number three, we need to go. We need to go. That means either physically, I spent years on the missions field and evangelism and going, and I've done that, knocking on doors and doing that. And now as the shifts in our society that evangelism seems like a lost art, well, also the methods have changed. That's okay if you don't go out with your church, if you don't go out and door to door. You can do that, but you can also digitally reach out. You can reach people digitally. You can reach them with new methods. But we must reach people and share them the love of Christ. They're hurting. And as we first started, they want to have the conversation. People are open. We need to talk to them physically. We need to have the conversations with people out here in the world as we're passing them. We get opportunities, our coworkers, friends, but also too, we need to go digitally and have a heart for the digital missions field. And evangelism does not have to be a lost art. It has to start with us. Number one, us getting that heart, prayer, and then going. And that means that going is physically speaking, also investing, it's action. So investing our finances and resources in digital missions. It also is going, man, and reaching people digitally, physically, impacting. But it all starts with us and remembering the freshness of our salvation, what God did for us. And let's go tell the world about His goodness and His grace.